crew of men and women are invited to a man named Simon's house, who Jesus had healed a while ago. They hit it off, kept in touch, and were friends. Nice home. Simon's honored to have Jesus there, and he pulls out all the stops. There's an abundance of delicious food. The wine is flowing. They're relaxing, catching up on stories that Simon hasn't heard since the last time he saw Jesus. There's intermittent laughter, some loud belly laughter. And then the sound in the room suddenly drops to a murmur. The laughing stops. And the dining area becomes like a freeze frame in a movie, except for a well-dressed, attractive woman who walks up to Jesus, greets him with a kiss and a smile. Everyone looks intently as the woman asks Jesus something, and Jesus nods yes. The tension tightens as she brings a finely sculptured stone vase out of her bag and breaks the gold seal, releasing an intoxicating, exotic fragrance. Everybody's looking around the table at each other, but nobody's saying anything. How dare she interrupt our meal? Who's this woman think she is? What's she doing? She's not doing what I think she's doing. I don't believe it. She's giving Jesus a massage with that ointment. She pours it on his head, works it tenderly into his hair, all the while looking into his eyes and smiling and giving him love. And that's when the buzz started. His friends moved out of startled silence to murmured condemnation and anger. So there in this story, we see there's essentially three players. There's the disciples represented by Judas, who verbally attacked the woman for what she did, calling it a waste of money. And there's Jesus, and there's the woman. Now, a good story is timeless, because a good story talks about aspects of human nature that are always with us. And so I find it helpful and interesting to look for something of ourselves in each of the players in the story. In other words, sometimes we're Judas and those stressed out disciples who are angry. But sometimes we're Jesus, and sometimes we're the woman who's the hero of the story. Of course, we can be like the disciples, lashing out at others because of our anger and fears. Someone told me this week that she was talking to a friend of hers, healthy person physically, and she mentioned to her friend that she was going to go out for a long walk to kind of clear her head. And her friend just went nuts on her and told her how awful it was. She shouldn't leave the house. She shouldn't be out walking around, and really dumped on her and yelled at her. So her friend was transferring her anxiety onto this person and dumping the anger like we see with the disciples here. Strong women, like the women in her story, often get dumped on. She's defying traditions by going into an all-male dining area. She believes that she has as much right to Jesus' attention as do the others. Strong women like that are often criticized and put down by men and women who feel threatened by them, especially if they're comfortable with their sexuality and their influence, and they refuse to be shamed by either. Sometimes, when we're really anxious about a job or focused on a mission, there's something that's got to be done, and somebody else takes a break, we can get mad at them because they're taking a break. And maybe that's part of what's got the disciples upset. If the disciples had not gotten angry and asked for a massage too, it would have been a much better situation. I'm sure the woman would have been helpful, been willing to give them a massage too. And then they all would have been happier and better off. But they criticized and they lashed out. We become lost when we lose our empathy. We become lost when we lose our compassion and the ability to laugh and be kind to each other. We lose ourselves when we take ourselves too seriously, because it's the ability to laugh and to have compassion and empathy that keeps us sane in the midst of a crisis. Moments of relaxation, moments of laughter, caring, and kindness. I know some people who claim to love humanity, but treat humans miserably. I know churches who claim to love people, but reject individuals for who they are and what they believe. Most companies say they support women and minorities, but you won't find women and minorities in the boardroom. It's all white guys. The NFL says they support racial equality. They even have a regulation that says that if a team is hiring a general manager, they must interview someone from a minority. And they all do. It's just that the owners don't hire them. There's one black general manager in the NFL and only 3 coaches from a minority group. The disciples remind us that we're all tribal by nature, and that when we feel threatened, we can become even more tribal and think that our group, our tribe, deserves more than others, and that it's us first. Which is why I'm delighted to celebrate the good news that we can also be like Jesus in the story. Jesus does 2 simple but remarkable things. Remarkable because often they're not done. First, he accepts this woman's offer of great generosity. And secondly, he stands up for the woman when she's attacked. Now, some of us find it really hard to accept grace, to accept generosity from others, to accept love from others. And some of us find it hard to find our voice, to stand up for others who are being put down. But both are important. We need to have a good time. We need to accept grace. We need to accept love. We need to enjoy the pleasures of the senses. We need to enjoy a treat from time to time and to be affirmed and appreciated. We all need that. When someone in our family has a birthday, one of the rituals we do is that after the cake's done, everybody goes around and says something they appreciate about the person whose birthday it is, and then the person whose birthday it is has to say something they appreciate about themselves. And for some of us, that can be different, hearing people actually compliment us. And sometimes we can find it hard to find something good to say about ourselves. That's a shame. Jesus was able to accept love when it was offered. A beautiful thing. We need the head massage. But we also have to stay true to our values of kindness, respect, and fairness, and stand up for people when they're being treated disrespectfully, especially when they're people who aren't in our family, in our tribe, in our church. We need to stand up for those who are being put down and use our influence to support them. Jesus can feel his friend's judgment, and he responds to Judas's condemnation for wasting money. And it was a lot of money. This story is told 4 different ways in the different Gospels with different details. In one of the Gospels, it says that this ointment was valued at like $40,000, a year's wages. But he says, this woman is the one here who's in touch with reality, with my reality, the fact I'm going to be arrested and killed. She's in touch with my pain, and she cares about me, and she's preparing me for the nightmare I have to face. What a gift. He says, I've worked for the poor all my life, but tonight, she's giving me the love I need to face what I've got to face. And Jesus adds, the good news of how much this woman's love has meant to me is so great that she will be remembered forever. And here it is 1900 years later, and we're still remembering her. So let's be like Jesus, accepting the love life sends us, all the while insisting on respect and fairness for all. Let's remember and talk about the people who've loved us well. Sometimes our family, friends, mentors, teachers, strangers who showed up in our lives just at the time we needed them, with the word of advice we needed, or that person who showed us that they believed in us when we didn't believe in ourselves. Let's remember them and talk about them and celebrate them and accept that gift of love. But then there's the hero of the movie, the woman. Don't even know her name in this story. Pretty typical. When guys write history, they don't spend much time on the women in the story. So the heroes of our story is an unnamed woman who doesn't say a word. She just does the one thing that only she can do. And she goes for it, knowing she's going to get some flack for it. In fact, she didn't even know whether Jesus would accept this great gift that she offered. And that reminds me today of all those people around us who are working so hard to get us through this health crisis. They just work tirelessly and at risk. I got a Facebook thing that said Friday, I believe, at 4 o'clock. It's inviting people to go out in the front doors of their homes and just clap for all the health workers and all the people who are trying to help us out. It's a great thing. And that's one of the evidences of what we call the divine, that when crisis comes, people rise above their own self-need, and they are selfless in their love and care and concern and compassion for the community. And we think of all those who are staying home and making the best out of it, and how we feel in solidarity with others. I know when I go out to the car to get some groceries, somebody will be walking, I'll nod and they'll nod, and we'll smile in a way that normally doesn't happen on our street. It's kind of like we're sharing this together. We know each other's reality in a way we don't usually know. People who have been hurt often have the capacity to turn their pain into fuel for change. Their love gives them a mission to bring some meaning out of their pain. Whether it's somebody who had their child murdered and they eventually forgive the murderer and they work together to help others stay out of prison. There's a million ways people take their pain and turn it into a means of alleviating the suffering of others. That's the love of this woman. People deeply want to be generous. And those who develop their generosity are the happiest people in the world, because like this woman who held Jesus' head in her hands and felt the tension leave his body, she knew she was making a huge difference in the life of someone who had made a big difference in hers. I mentioned about the calls I'm receiving, offering money, offering to volunteer to help out. That's generous impulse that's a part of our divinity, and nothing makes us happier than acting on it. Yes, we all have our moments like the disciples, when we lose focus on what really matters and take out our insecurities on others. But that's not who we want to be, because it's not who we really are. Jesus reminds us of who we really are, divine partners in creating a better world. And the woman reminds us of who we are, channels of God's love and grace, agents of healing, agents of justice, agents of joy. Thanks be to God.